Hello and welcome to Kicking Tires. My name is Jimmy,
And I'm Justin.
and today we got more news for you.
Electrifying news.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the first subject here. This is the Audi Sky Sphere. This is a concept that they created here to review like the brand's kind of like direction in terms of how their design and whatnot will look. It's very unique. It's very striking. I love the details that it has on it. It's a stunning vehicle. It really is.
Yeah, it well, I guess the trick to this car is that it has zero visibility out. So if you were to actually sit in it, you cannot see out of it. But the trick is you don't need to.
Yeah, because it has
Right?
level 4 autonomous driving. So it literally can drive itself.
Yeah, and that's the goal with this car. Not only is it that it also extends,
Mm.
and that is trippy.
Yeah, when you guys get a chance, take a look at the videos. But essentially the front half of it, there's a cut line right at the A pillar, so right where the windshield is, and that cut line that's where it extends the vehicle. So in Audi's blurb, they say that it extends it so that way it's like a more GT car. You put the roof up, you turn on autonomous driving, it basically drives wherever you need. But when you want to have some fun, you retract it, shortening that wheelbase, steering wheel comes up, then you can enjoy the drive a little bit. And because this like depending on which photo you're looking at, there's the hard not a hard top, but it's like a retractable hard top that you can get on it. So when you want to have like that open roof feeling, you can, I'm assuming by a press of a button, that roof retracts back and you get well, a convertible.
Yeah, one thing I really like about this reminds me of the original Stingray Corvette in the rear three-quarter view. It's
The
got
bubble?
it's got the bubble, it's got the fender flares, it's got that roof hoop design.
Hmm.
Um, I think it looks really good, especially from the rear three-quarter. But yeah, it's got very similar proportions to that type of vehicle and equally poor visibility.
Something that's kind of cool is, of course, it's electric, um, but where they place the batteries is very unique. So 30% of the batteries is kind of in between the driver itself, the driver and the passenger, and then 70% of it is behind. So the weight distribution on this car is actually 40-60. So 40 in the front, 60 in the rear. In the front, that's not like where the motor is. It's actually the trunk. So there's actually a photo where the trunk actually opens in the middle and you're able
Hmm.
to place golf bags in it. Of
Just don't
course,
retract your wheelbase and then crush your golf club.
I'm sure it's a separate place for it. I'm sure it's a separate place, but it just looks so cool. Like, of course,
Yeah.
this is a full on concept. We're not going to see anything like this in real life. But hey, the R8 was a concept before, and the R8 looked pretty close to the concept. So I'm just saying, Audi when
Yeah.
they make concepts, it's something
Some
that
of
they can
it comes to
potentially,
reality for
yeah,
sure. I don't
absolutely.
really get the point of the whole retractable wheelbase, but like it's just asking for trouble. I guess I'm just being pragmatic here. The doors also open. I don't know what you call it, like the Rolls
Suicide,
Royce. I guess so.
yeah.
Backwards. So everything is backwards. The trunk is in the front, and the doors are hinged backwards. Um, Climate control on the door itself. I'm just watching a video right now of this car in action, and the interior is you can see the Audi DNA in it. It's a little bit of a you know stuff don't like that steering wheel doesn't really look like it belongs.
Well, it
It's
doesn't
quite
need one
random.
half the time, You're pressing the button, it's driving itself. Why do you even need a steering wheel?
Exactly. And then as it retracts, you lose that center stack. That hole where the Prindle it goes up, the steering wheel tucks away. And yeah,
I think it's just a print, no L.
Right. It's just a pern. It's a pern.
But
Um,
you're absolutely right. You can
yeah.
definitely see like the Audi DNA in it. Like it looks like the exact same dash that we currently get, except
Mhm.
digitalized.
Yeah, and bigger. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Oh, and of course, it dashes the entire thing is a screen. I mean,
Yeah, it
what
makes
else these days is
sense.
not a screen, right?
Yeah.
Everything has to be a screen.
Well, and being level 4, like you think you can do stuff on it, right? Like give me a keyboard, I can work on that screen or whatever, or just
Ooh,
watch movies.
if you own a Sky Sphere, you're not working. Let's be honest.
Yeah. This is like, well, okay. Think of like some kind of spy movie, Fast and Furious, anything like that, where you're just like on some mission to save some global leader,
Yeah.
and
Well,
they zoom in on you, like zoom call into you on that screen, like, hey, you have to, we're going to this destination now, and then your steering wheel goes away, and it just
so
yeah.
I mean, in Fast 9 they went to space. So in Fast 10 or
This is
12
the
or
car
whatever,
to do it. Yeah.
this is the one that they're going to Mars, right?
Yeah, this car can do it.
Makes
It's
sense.
got 623 horsepower.
It has all the electric power that you need to get there.
Yeah.
I mean, they have an estimated 0 to 60 time. It's 4 seconds. It means absolutely nothing, to be honest, because like you're not you're not gonna do that anyways in this car. I don't know if you saw the picture, but there's actually a champagne bottle and flutes in the center console.
Of
Because
course.
you're not
Level
driving,
4
right?
driving.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not driving, so why not have some champagne while you're at it? Um, absolutely a very, very cool concept. Looking forward to what Audi brings to the table here for this. But let's get back to reality here because I actually couldn't find Volkswagen's information on this directly, so I'm actually quoting Motor Trend here and some other articles. But the Arteon, the replacement for the CC, which you probably haven't seen on the road because they don't sell too many of them,
Yeah.
it's getting a bit of an upgrade. So from 268 horsepower, it's now 300 horsepower. It's still a 2-liter turbocharged 4, but it's not as good as the the Arteon R that you get in the UK.
Mm.
Because across the pond, you had the Arteon R, which has like 315 horsepower or so. So it's a little bit more powerful and everything. But it's a little bit watered down here in North America.
Yeah, it's an interesting move because yeah, the RTN doesn't sell very well. I think the main issue with it is really the MSRP. It's over $50,000. The CC was not that expensive when it came out. It was just like slightly more than a Passat.
Yeah,
But the RTN came out, and it's like we are A4 money basically.
yeah.
And so, it's no wonder that if you're shopping for this kind of segment of vehicle, you want something kind of more like an A4, like more business class. You got the badge to go with it. The Arteon looks great. I mean, don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
I wonder if the power bump, the power bump, they were always able to squeeze 300 horsepower of this engine. They've been doing
Oh,
300 horsepower
absolutely.
out of it for a decade now. So it's just like, okay, well, maybe the 268 was not competitive enough. We're going to bump it up to 300. That's going to one up the A4. That's going to one up all the 330i's, the C300s, what have you. Uh, and so I guess that kind of positions it slightly better in the market if you compare it to the luxury brands from the Germans, and also cars like the Q50, the TLX. Um, but again, those are all luxury brands. If you go with the uh, more consumer brands, there's not really any competition here. Buick, I guess, has some
Buick had
US model.
something. I think the Regal is discontinued.
Yeah, and it's just like, I don't know, for the money, I never really considered this car because it's the only thing it has going for it is it's
The
really
looks.
good looking.
Yeah,
The interior is okay.
it's not the greatest.
It's
No.
it's not that special. Like, it's based off of the Passat, so
Yeah.
um Yeah, to me the interior is not up to like an A4 level. A4 has been around for 4 or 5 years, still nicer though.
Mhm. You're not wrong. You're definitely not wrong. But even with the 2022, with the engine getting a slight boost here, you're actually paying a little bit more. It's $3,000 more than the previous year,
Mm,
2021 model. So yes, you're getting more power and you're getting a better transmission as well. It's an 8-speed dual clutch now.
oh,
But you are paying 3 grand more than before.
yeah,
I,
just
I
who buys this car?
it's hard to say. But you said luxury before, but actually Volkswagen maybe kind of moving away from that with the Arteon. They're kind of considering it like a sportier model because every single model of the Arteon, it's going to be an R line version. So
Mhm.
it's always going to have like the R line ground effects and whatnot to make it a little bit more sportier in its looks.
I think that makes sense also because this car is a styling heavy car.
Hmm.
That's what it's gonna have to rest on. So, as far as dealerships keeping inventory, it makes sense to just give it the best that you can. Let's not water it down. Give it that,
I
that
don't
entry
think dealers
level.
have inventory of the Arteon.
I
I
wouldn't take that gamble on RTO. The other car to consider, I guess, also is the A5 Sportback. That
yeah,
is probably its biggest competitor, ironically. Mercedes, like, they don't really have anything, but
the
the Arteon is
CLA.
the
I mean,
Arteon's kind of
smaller.
unique because it's got a hatch,
Yeah,
right? So the CLA is a little bit more cramped. The trunk is nowhere near as practical as this. The 4 Series Grand Coupe, we don't have that quite yet. Um, so really, the closest competitor is the 85 Sportback, which has the same engine and is really about the same price. Like a little bit more if you get the Technic model, but the Sportback starts at 51, which is
mm,
where the Arteon also starts. It's really hard sell in that case. Uh, it's the same base price for the you're getting a comfort model, the base model Sportback, but it's still an Audi. If you go progressive, it's 56. Technic, the full load is 60, which I think 60 for that makes sense. 55 for this, it's a tough sell.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, the badge itself, when you say you're driving the people's car at $50,000, it's quite a bit to swallow. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
an Audi, it definitely makes a lot more sense.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on to Volkswagen's other mistake. I mean, the other car. Sorry. This is the ID.5. So they have the ID.3 overseas. We don't have the ID.3 here in Canada or North America because hatchbacks don't sell. So they are just giving us the ID.4. The ID.5 is basically the ID.4, except it's coupe. So it's a coupe styling of the ID.4. And this is like their GTX model that we're talking about today. GTX is basically like their performance line. Think GTI in their like normal induction engine
Mm-hmm.
um, performance variants. They also have like the GTD, which is the diesel, and the GTE, which was their hybrids. So the GTX is their performance or kind of semi-performance, not into a full R yet performance of their electric lineup.
Mm-hmm.
So how much performance does it have? We really don't know. We know that it's dual motor. We know that it's going to be 4-wheel drive, and we have an estimated range of about 500 kilometers. But that's
Yeah.
all we know so far.
And well, okay, so the ID4, that's quite a promising vehicle, right?
No, it's not.
We're
No,
oh,
I'm going to stop you right there. The ID.4 is not selling because Volkswagen has completely goofed the ID.4. It's
oh,
not a good vehicle at all. There every single person that reviewed an ID.4 has come down really hard on it and said how much of a garbage vehicle it is.
what's wrong with it? Because the range is awesome, and
So
it
the
outperforms the range from what I know.
so the range is good. The range is like the best thing about it. But there's a lot of cheap materials inside. There's a
But
lot
the
of things
car
that
is cheap.
the car is cheap because there's a lot of things that's cheap about it. But if you get the higher models and you get like the options, it's no longer cheap, especially if you want to have like the all-wheel drive variant. If you just get the rear drive, then yes, it's definitely like relatively inexpensive. But the rear drive unit, it's so slow. It's like 8 seconds to 100.
I
For
mean, the
an,
all-wheel drive starts at 50, which I think there's no real competition at that price point with all-wheel drive.
but the all-wheel drive that it has is only, I think it was only about 300 horse or something like that. It was really low.
I mean, 300 is pretty respectable. I mean,
So okay, this is all basing for off the reviews that I've seen for of the ID.4 as a rear drive vehicle only. So a lot of people have complained about the infotainment system itself. It's just very clumsy to use. It's not the greatest there. There's tons of space on the inside, which is one of the best parts about it, but it's a very dull vehicle with not a lot of power. It's really down on power when it comes to a vehicle of this size, especially if you're going to start loading it with your family, because the amount of power this has is about the same as like the Leaf, and the Leaf, we don't feel like that is particularly quick.
well, so okay, so the ID.4 all-wheel drive does a 0 to 60 in just under 6 seconds.
Mhm. So the all-wheel
300
drive is pretty good.
horsepower, and it's $50,000. Like, what can you get within $10,000 that has that kind of range, that kind of power, that kind of brand backing it?
So the Kona EV would have the range, but not all-wheel drive, but still has the
And
same
it's half
power.
the size,
Kona is definitely a little smaller, yeah.
like significantly smaller.
Yeah.
So I don't get why people are going so. Yes, compared to a Model Y Performance or a Model Y dual motor, but that's $70,000 versus $50,000. These, like, they're not comparable vehicles.
I think people aren't comparing the dual motor of the Y. They're comparing like the base model, which is now discontinued, because the base model of the Y was,
Well,
I
still
think it was
60.
was 57
It
or
was
so.
still $15,000 more than a base ID.4.
Right.
So it's still not even close. It's 30% more money. How can you compare a car that's 30% more expensive? That's a Civic to a Camry. You cannot do that. Like, that's delusional. Whoever is reviewing these cars, they're not being realistic. And that's why I always call out auto journalists, because they always go through the same rhetoric and the cliche of, oh, well, hydraulic steering, oh, this car's got a CVT. It's always the same bull crap. And they're not being realistic about what this car is meant to change the actual climate of, the world. That's why it's what, world car of the year or something, because having this price point, an actually affordable price point, um, having the size, having really good range, because it's proven to, when it says 250 miles or 250, it's doing above that. Whereas Tesla, they're saying one number and their cars go slightly under that. And so I don't get what the issue is with the ID.4.
The other thing that was an issue that I remember from some of the reviews were charging network. So Volkswagen's part of the um, Charging America or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was called. Electrifying America. That's what it's called.
Hmm.
So the Electrifying America network, while there are stations, a lot of them were faulty. A lot of them weren't able to charge. That's why, like, a lot of people right now, when they're like looking at electric cars, it's just hard to recommend any other model other than a Tesla because of their charging network. The
Hmm.
infrastructure itself, I mean, it's a huge point when it comes to an electric car. You
But
know,
again, it's a 30 to, well, no, dual motor 50K versus 70K.
yeah,
It's a
but what good is
40% bump in
but what
price.
good is your electric car if you can't get it charged?
I mean, I'm sure there's somewhere you can charge it.
Yeah, I'm sure there's somewhere,
That's
but you just can't
And it's the
charge it.
same thing with Tesla. You go on a long weekend out to Kelowna to go wine touring, and it's backed up for hours.
Yeah, there's that. I
So
did see that picture. Yeah, that was
so what's the difference? Like, when during the off season, yes, but when it's peak season, they're still not good enough infrastructure if you're relying on public charging stations.
Yeah.
If you're not going to make that commitment, but at the end of the day, it's it's a 40% price jump to go up to a
Yeah.
Tesla. That even if this car has cheap materials, is probably still assembled better with better fit and finish and better panel gaps than a Tesla. Like,
That's okay. I gotta be honest. My friend picked up a Model Y. I went to check it out. It looks really good. Like 2 years ago, when my other friend picked up a three, he invited me to come take a look with him because when I checked out one of our other friends' cars, I pointed out all the faults and everything. So when we're at that dealership, picking up that Model 3, it was bad. Like literally no panels ever aligned. But the Y that my other friend just picked up, it was really good. Like all the panels actually lined
check the
up.
headliner.
the
That's the
the,
one
head,
thing they can't get right.
the
I've
headliner actually had some scratch marks on it, but
The
that's
C pillar to the head C A B C, the D pillar to the headliner
mm,
has never fit. I've touched a bunch of Model Ys,
yeah.
and it's always a disclaimer we have to go through with our customers before we start on that car. This was like this before we started. We have to open it because it looks like an amateur went in there, installed a dash cam, and just destroyed the panels. That's what it looks like. And they all fit like that. The headliner's not tucked into the rubber. There's a little rubber
Mm,
seal, either on the side, both on the side where the airbag runs, and also on the back. The front is usually okay, but so far I think I'm 9 out of 10 for Model Ys having really bad headliners. Uh, it's horrifying, and it's consistent too.
right.
That's it's yeah. I've trained all our staff to, if you're touching a Model Y or a Model 3, you have to do that walk around before, because the customer is going to blame you. They might have not have noticed it,
Yeah.
and in many cases, the customer never noticed it. It's like, because you don't look around that edge,
Right.
but it's really obvious because the headliner is a lighter color, and then you have a black rubber strip
The,
around it, so
the gasket. Yeah.
it's pretty noticeable. Um, but I stand by the ID.4. I think it is what we need as far as price point and to shake up this market.
Hmm.
And I think it is a real competitor, despite what these quote unquote auto journalists are saying. Because, like, I don't care about fun steering feel and VW infotainment. It's always been okay. Like, people have to rag on it for something, right? And I mean, I've even watched like I saw the new NX. A lot of reviews are coming out on it, and then obviously you have to rag on the touchpad. That's just what auto journalists do,
The new NX still
because
has a touchpad. I
it
thought
still has the
it's
same trackpad.
oh
Yeah, so you have to rag on it, but it's just like, because there's nothing better to say,
right.
and you've been saying the same thing for the last 8 years. Like, get over it. It's a snappy enough system. It's got CarPlay now. It's like, okay, get over it.
it's good enough.
Yeah. And to the people that really use it and drive these cars day in, day out, guess what? They have no problem with it. So be realistic about what you're reviewing. And yeah, I don't see anyone throwing their NX out because, oh, it's got a stupid trackpad. Like, oh, I have to get out of this. And
I can't
you
use it. I'm
yeah,
done.
like, that is the different. Okay, are you gonna sell it and get an X1 or whatever? Like, no, like, you got the NX because you got the NX. Like, yeah.
Let's move on here. I want to talk a little bit about the Silverado leak here. It's not really a leak. But they posted a video of the Silverado electric truck. And it's going to have four-wheel steering. So it's able to, of course, turn at a tighter radius than traditional trucks, which is going to be cool. And of
Yeah.
course, they're making the Hummer, right? So probably very similar
Hmm.
information that they got from that.
Yeah.
It
Similar
looks cool.
architecture.
It looks really cool. And it's not the first time that Chevy, GM in general has done four-wheel steering, because actually they did a four-wheel steering truck a little while back. You may remember the Sierra C3 Denali. It had a really weird crease on the truck bed on the side because it actually had rear wheel steering, and that was a pretty cool truck. I mean, you don't really see them on the road anymore because, well, it's the 90s or actually early 2000s
Yeah.
GM truck, and they don't tend to last that long.
I like their tagline though. Today, Chevrolet revealed the Silverado electric pickup will drive circles around the competition. It's like because of the, which I honestly, a pickup truck needs four-wheel steering. Like
it
it
definitely
helps
helps.
so much. Like U-turning, parallel parking. Um, that's the thing. We don't all live in middle America where we have, parking lots that are huge and we don't have to parallel park. Like in an urban environment, four-wheel steering, I can totally see that being useful. As far as it says, improved handling and stability at higher speeds. I kind of doubt you will feel improvements in handling, but the maneuverability I think is huge.
Yeah, definitely. And I can see this like in terms of towing, trailer, like backing up trailers, it's going to be huge in
Oh
terms of
yeah,
like maneuverability for that. I'm sure it's going to have some sort of crab walk feature.
yeah, just all four going that way.
It's
So
going to help trailers a whole bunch. But of
yeah,
course, Chevy's a little bit later in the game, right? I mean, we've seen the F-150 Lightning, we've seen the next Ford electric truck, and
hmm
we haven't seen much of the Chevy. So we have to wait a while before this
yeah,
this comes to light.
yeah. And Chevy, well, GM's electric technology has been decent so far, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. The Ul- Ultium or something like that. I can't remember what the
Yeah,
battery technology was called.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, moving on to another truck, the Tundra. Oh my gosh, Toyota, you
Tundra yet again.
you're
You're
killing
not.
me.
This is not a repeat. This is the 2022 Tundra. A lot more revealed this week. A lot of close-ups of the underbody.
Yeah.
So all of
Okay.
the mechanicals.
So
Um,
what
yeah.
what do we know here? We know that there's a big skip plate that says TRD on the bottom.
hmm
So pretty sure this is going to be the TRD Pro.
hmm
We see a very beefy anti-roll bar there. We see Fox shocks on the front and rear, and we see coil springs on the back. Those are the main takeaways here for the Tundra
hmm
TRD-ish kind of video that we got. We see we get Falcon tires on the side, so that may be good or bad depending on which exactly ones that you get. They look like
It's a
Wild
good
Peaks to
thing.
me.
Looks like the AT3W. It's a
Yeah.
decent tire. Um,
What I'm
sometimes they're a bit noisy.
what I'm most interested about is the knuckle, because the knuckle is actually aluminum to help with weight a little bit. And I'm actually kind of surprised Toyota went with an aluminum knuckle on a truck, because most of the time you want steel, you want stamp steel because they're generally more heavier duty. Um, so I'm actually kind of intrigued to see the aluminum knuckle here. But of course, the upper arms and lower arms are all stamp steel, and everything else
Mm.
is so it's just the knuckle itself
It
that's
might be
aluminum.
corrosion resistance too. Yeah,
Yeah,
because these
absolutely.
parts, the thing is, the Toyota trucks, like they last forever, which we know.
Yeah.
But if you get under something that's 20 years old, it's just like it's rust city.
Mm.
Like everything is rusty, and so I guess moving towards more aluminum components couldn't hurt.
No,
Uh,
definitely not.
yeah, because
Sure.
the truck will outlast these arms and stuff.
Well, I mean, in 20 years they may have a frame recall, but that's okay.
Yeah, I don't know how strong this kind of frame would be. Um, it is, yeah, coil springs. Ram's the only one using it so far, but
Yeah,
I don't see an issue with that. It saves a lot of space, should be saving a lot of weight.
and
Um,
arguably the Ram is probably the best riding pickup truck that's out there right now.
how dare you?
You You
The
know that.
Honda Ridgeline
Oh,
is a legitimate.
oh yeah, oh yeah, the Ridgeline. Forgot about that pickup truck.
How dare you
You know what?
neglect the Honda Ridgeline? Take it back.
I'm sorry, Ridgeline owners. I forgot about you.
The Ridgeline is a much better riding
And
truck.
all the Santa Cruz owners, I'm sorry that we said that this is the only truck that uses coil springs on the back. You do as well, along with the Maverick. I'm sure you do as well. So I apologize.
The
Um,
only half ton. Let's see.
let's talk about Porsche here. Porsche has a limited edition racing car for exclusive circuit outings because it's, well, it doesn't look to me like it's road ready. But this is the 911 GT2 RS Club Sport and
25.
25.
Yeah.
It
The
looks,
25 is very important because
oh
the
yes,
25, there is already a GT2 RS Club Sport, which is like this kind of factory ready race car that you then slap your livery on. But the 25 is specific. So it's
yeah.
yeah.
So the 25 is for the 25th anniversary of Mantai, the exclusive racing series, or not series, sorry, the company that they're working with. It's kind of like the next level. It's like on top of the RS. So
Mhm.
this is a crazy vehicle, like 3.8 liter twin turbo flat six, making 690 horsepower. Like, yeah, this thing is absolutely ridiculous. There's carbon fiber body work. There's a data logger that's built in so you can monitor your track times. Fully adjustable suspension, which I'm sure if I got into it, I will mess it up right away. Like it's it's
Yeah.
absolutely crazy. But I don't have to worry about getting in one because there's only 30 being
Yeah,
made.
limited to 30. You'd think they would limit it to 25 because it's
Yeah,
a
right. Like
25th anniversary model. Let's do five more than
let's do,
25.
let's
It
do
makes
30.
no sense. But okay, so comparing to a normal Club Sport's already got that same motor and stuff. But the aerodynamics package on this is quite extensive. Like the whole front fascia, the car looks way wider, way lower, way longer. The rear especially is quite a long tail on the back, obviously for stability and whatnot. I don't know if the it's the same as far as like racing series, like letting something like this in versus the normal club sport. Um, I don't know how the regulations work for that because
Or if they
uh,
do.
or if anyone races it. But it's a cool looking package with it's got this kind of green. They call it grello, which is green and yellow. Uh, it's kind of
Green and
accents here
yellow.
and there. Yeah, and it's a 991 too, in case that wasn't obvious, because you can kind of tell in some areas. Okay, the it's a little bit more curvy than the 992.
Mhm.
I'm a little bit partial to the 991. Like, look at the hood. Even with that extra Nakaduck behind the Porsche badge, it's still a cleaner look than that new GT3,
You
which
just
has.
you just don't like the nostrils on that thing.
I don't, because it's like, why would you put rectangular grill openings on a very round car? It makes no sense. This one still has curvy grills,
Yeah,
which is a must for me.
I actually really like the mirrors on this thing.
They're wild. It's like a swan neck,
So
like a
yeah,
sideways.
it's a swan net that goes off to the side, then goes up. So the airflow that it's able to go by, like the A pillar, it's perfectly like inintrusive. Like you're not gonna have any wind resistance on those mirrors. It absolutely is beautiful. This thing,
Yeah, the
and I love
function and form, just like how they marry that is pretty cool.
I really love the green and yellow vibe as well,
Mhm,
because it's not overly used, but it's used in really subtle places. Like it's on the
mhm.
side of the spokes on the wheels. So when you're looking at it from the side, you see that green and yellow, but on the like dead side profile, you don't really see it as much.
Yeah,
It's on the inside of the wing cutouts. Like it's just really cool.
but we don't know how fast this is around the Nürburgring.
Oh, 2 minutes, easy. If you're interested in buying one, $620,000 American dollars. So I mean,
Does that seem reasonable? That actually,
it's
that's
it's
cheaper
only
than I thought.
it's
Honestly,
only double the price of a regular GT2 RS. So honestly, it's not that bad. I know that sounded sarcastic, but I'm saying it's not that bad because
the
the
club sport is 480. Is $500,000.
yeah, it's not that much more for this. I mean, if you're
This is
paying
really exclusive. Like,
yeah, if you're paying 500K, what's another 120, right?
it's
Let
luxury
let
tax.
let's be honest. Let's be honest, right? If you're already spending 500, another 120 really isn't that
Mhm.
much.
Yeah.
And yeah, this
Especially when we talk about our next topic,
ooh,
which is
let's go right
rumored
into
to
it.
be quite a bit higher in terms of price point.
So there's a lot of rumors here for the next Lamborghini. It's the Countach. You
Yeah.
may remember the Countach on your walls because I'm sure everyone had a Countach on their walls. Maybe a Diablo if you're younger,
Yeah.
or a Mercelot. Every single kid that was born in the 80s, maybe 90s, would have a Countach on their wall because it's the best looking supercar of
I
that
had a
time.
Diablo, to be
Yeah, because you're
honest.
younger.
I'm 92.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
younger. So that's why you had a Diablo. I had a Countach on my wall because I'm a little older. But the Countach is back. Or
Yeah.
maybe back. We think it's
It
back.
is back for sure because this is from Lamborghini themselves. We don't know exact details about it. There's rumors, there's some leaks. Um, the Countach obviously being, in my opinion, it is the most iconic Lamborghini. The Miura is the prettiest, all these mid-engine Lamborghinis. With the I
Uh,
don't.
yeah, I would
The
okay,
Miura is the prettiest, but
you're
the
right.
Countach defined that Lamborghini side profile that has basically, even to this day, is still in place. Like
Oh yeah.
from 1950 years ago, um, when the Countach first came out, this it still carries on that same, basically that one line, that one roof line to the front bumper.
Mhm.
That is so special, and I think um, it's more apparent on the Countach than it was on the Miura. I think the 350 GT is a gorgeous car. The Miura is gorgeous, but the Countach defined what Lamborghini is today, as far as the shape, the
Yeah.
doors, um, and then later on the wild aerodynamics, which have now been tamed. We're kind of more more
Just
toned
a
down a
bit.
little bit these days compared to what was that, the LP 500, 400 back in the day. Um,
The Countach is LP 400, yeah.
yeah, yeah, the LP 400, and yeah, so the Countach, actually they had an LP 5000, which does not have 5,000 horsepower, but they had the LP 5000 in the mid 80s. That one had pretty wild aero fender flares, the little wing.
So what I'm afraid of is this Countach kind of like I'm pretty sure they won't ruin it because Countach like it lives in a lot of our memories as one of those poster cars, right?
Mhm.
It's not a car that you want to drive because it's a poster car. It's, I
Yeah,
mean, Top Gear. I think it was Richard Hammond drove one or Clarkson. I can't remember. One of
Clarkson,
them
he
drove
totally
one.
does not fit in it. Yeah, the pedal box is like super narrow and off to
It's
the side.
the car is suited for your wall and that's where it belongs. It doesn't belong in a vehicle that you
Yeah.
want to drive because it's not a good driving car. But this new one, I'm sure it's going to drive great because it has to. It's a brand new Lamborghini. I
Mhm.
just I'm just
You'll
hoping that
actually fit in it and like be able to get in and out of it.
I'm just hoping it'll be as wild as the Countach I remember.
I think so. So this is going to be, the rumor is that this is going to be a very low production car. Kind of think the Reventon, back when the Mercy was kind of on its way out. They released that as kind of a one-off
Is it Reventon or Rebenton?
Reventon. So the rumor, the leak is the LPI designation. So the LPI, the I standing for the word for hybrid in Italian, uh, and so the rumor is it's going to be some kind of hypercar hybrid, you know, super, think 918, think uh, all those McLaren, Ferrari, and whatnot. But it's it's multi-million dollar price tag. Like we're in the millions now. We're not counting hundreds of thousands. We're in the millions. People guessing around 3 million US
How how
is what I've seen.
how upset would you be if it was like based on an RSQ8 and just had like the hybrid
Yeah.
tech from like
For
Audi?
for that price point, it would be very sad. Um, and especially carrying the Countach name. Lamborghini's had a lot of concepts over the years, even in recent years. There's like a cyan concept. There's been quite a few. Cyan,
I
and
thought the
then
sound
there's
was
the
real.
oh, okay, and it's hard to separate reality. Okay, yeah, the science. There's the SC20, SC18. I don't know. There's a bunch of stuff going on with Lamborghini that's like kind of Centenario. What's that
Centenario is
carbon one?
real.
Yeah, yeah. But like these are just kind of like oddball, not
Like the one
regular
offs.
production
Yeah, yeah,
run,
yeah, 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 yeah.
not
They take
regular
they take
production
their
run.
current cars, they do something crazy with it. They
Yeah,
call it something
the
crazy, and then they sell it for half a
Veneno,
million bucks. Yeah.
which way more than half a million. The
Oh
regular
yeah.
ones are half a
Sorry.
million.
Yeah, half a million more than the regular one.
Yeah, yeah, because the Aventador is pedestrian by these standards. Yeah, because what an Aventador retails for about half a million Canadian,
More than I
starting
can
at.
afford, pal.
Yeah. Um, so this is gonna be probably one of those, but I don't know. For the Countach name, like it would have been pretty exciting to see this as a regular production run vehicle. 800, if 800 is the hint of the power this thing's gonna make, not that impressive to me. Right, we're at 700 with your regular
I'm
Aventador.
we're at a stage in life where 800 horsepower isn't impressive anymore.
It isn't on a multi-million dollar car. It isn't. So yeah, because to get like that club sport, we're at 700.
Yeah.
For half a mil.
Well,
The
we
Aventador's at 700 for half a
we
mil.
know it still has a V12, so that's something that it's still gonna have. Um, 800 horsepower from a V12 is not
Yeah,
bad.
and
It's not
the cool
bad.
thing about the V12 is it's built off of the same basic architecture from the original Countach,
Hmm.
from what I remember.
This
So
like a
there's a lot
lot
of
has been changed.
heritage. It's tripled in power over the years, but
Yeah,
it is that is kind of how Lamborghinis functioned all this time. This is their backbone.
yeah,
It's pretty cool,
yeah,
pretty cool
definitely,
tidbit. They're a different
definitely.
type of company. I think they're not all about the numbers. They're not about lap
No,
times and stuff like that. I think
no.
their cars are art and somewhat reasonable actually, like
It's
compared to
about
the unobtainium cars.
which one the valet will pick to sit in front of a fancy hotel.
That true. Yeah, that's absolutely
Because
true.
if you're in front of a fancy hotel, you want to have the fancy cars in front.
Mhm.
When you have a Ferrari like 458 versus a Lamborghini, I mean, the Ferrari just kind of looks pedestrian. I mean, don't get me wrong, a Ferrari it's a hell of a performer, but a Lamborghini, that's a Lamborghini, like you
Mhm.
want to put that, even you unlock it, put the scissors doors up because you have to. But yeah, let's uh let's move on to the final thing here. Very pedestrian compared to
Back to reality.
yeah, back to things that it's somewhat more realistic here. This is the 2021, actually nope, I'm wrong, 2022 Acura MDX. Posted a review just on Monday here about it. This is the brand new MDX, fourth generation MDX, and it's It's all right.
I think
That's
it's a bit better and all
it's
right.
all right. It's a bit boring. It doesn't have the motor that you want. It's not the Type S, but
True.
it's all right. There's nothing wrong with it. So that's the best part. So Acura went into their blurb and told us all about how the new suspension layout on the front has double wishbones. Not a single person that's going to be buying this cares about that.
Hmm.
Zero. Because why would you care in your basically minivan that you got double wishbones on the front? Like you
Yeah.
don't care.
It's space saving, the double wishbone
It's
technology.
not. A
It's
strut uses a lot less space. That's the
no,
thing.
I noticed something when you look under the hood of this car is how much open space is under the hood,
it's
and
it's so
it's
that it can put
confusing
turbos in for the Type S
for
model.
the Type S. I figured that much, but the overhang, like the engine stops and then there's about 3 feet of car in front of it. I don't really get it. I
Yeah.
saw one today in the dark blue color. It looked really good.
The MDX, especially the A spec model, looks amazing. It looks really good.
Hmm.
There's nothing wrong with the way it looks. It's just they they're trying to sell it in their blurb as some sort of performance SUV where it really isn't. Like there's
They're
nothing
coming out
about
with
this.
that, to be
They
fair.
the Type S really isn't a performance SUV. They just got a faster motor. Just think of it as you got more power. I don't want to think of the Type S
Yeah.
as a performance variant.
It's not an RSQ8. It's not an Urus. It's not even a Cayenne S. But it is, as far as three-row SUVs go, it is up there as far as like better handling.
Yeah, no, it definitely is because people that's buying this, they're comparing to the Lexus RX, and the
Yeah,
RX is
RX 350L even.
the
Can you?
RX is so bad. Let's be honest, it's so bad in terms of its handling. There's nothing about it that you want to like. It's a car that you buy because you don't want to get a van. This is
Yeah,
something that maybe incorporates a little bit of that TLX, a little bit of that driving magic that Acura has. The super handling all-wheel drive works really good on it as well. Like there definitely are good points about this, but I just wish it was a little bit more. The engine, it's a carryover. It's still the same 3.5 liter V6. And like
mhm,
while it has character and it sings a beautiful V6 sound, it doesn't like really push you back into your seat like a
yeah.
lot of new turbocharged motors do
Mm.
because it doesn't have that torque. It slowly builds that power. So like like I said, nothing wrong with it. I just wished it was more from Acura.
I think when we see the Type S, that might be that might be kind of exciting. I think like
It might.
for this segment, because again, we're talking about the RX 350L. We're talking
Mhm.
about that Infinity, uh, the thing
QX60,
60
yeah,
or 70.
60, yeah.
Yeah, and we're talking.
That's it.
I don't know. That's
Those are the
about it.
two those are the two true competitors to this.
Yeah, whatever the Buick version of the Traverse is. Like,
No one's
okay,
buying that.
MDX is pretty hot. If
It
you
is.
in that lineup, if you had to, MDX is pretty hot, especially with the Type S motor. It looks good. It's comfortable enough. It's practical enough. It's well built enough,
And it's cheap.
and it's
Like
it's very reasonably priced,
I was
like
gonna
an
say, yeah.
Arteon. It's basically an Arteon's
Yeah.
base price.
It's because it starts at 56. This is the top of the line here, 67. And that's cheaper than the RX. That's cheaper by like 5 grand or so than the RX.
Yeah, and it's a lot cheaper than anything from Germany with 3 rows.
Oh, absolutely.
Um,
You can't touch. There's no German cars that can touch this or
Even the two
SUVs.
rows won't touch. Even like a GLE
Yeah,
X. This is like X1 to X3, like kind of in between that price
that
point.
kind of pricing. Yeah.
But you're getting a lot more car for the
Oh,
money.
huge,
Yeah, you're
huge.
not
Yeah.
getting the engineering
No.
that you get with an X3. It's not a B58, X Drive M40i, but this is hand me down engineering from 20 years ago. That's one of the things that people don't understand. It's like, why would you ever buy an X3 when you can get an MDX, which has a better interior, more comfortable seats, and an extra row of seats, and for 10 grand less. Um, and that's the thing is really because the engine is single overhead cam. Um,
The J.35 is the best. No, that's really not the best. I really love this engine. I
yeah,
love the
makes
way
the
it
right
sounds.
sound.
The sound of it, it's so good.
How's the 10 speed?
Not as bad as people are saying it is. It shifts quick enough. It's predictive enough for what you
Yeah,
need. So when you put your foot down, it downshifts a few gears and then
nice.
it goes. No, nothing
Yeah.
wrong with the 10 speed. Some people hate the shifter, but you'll get used to it.
Oh, I like those shifters. I drove it in the RDX, and I like the buttons shifter. I think
Mhm.
it works pretty good.
Yeah.
And again, that's one of the things is like journalists have to crap on something, so they just like make a small issue seem
Much
like
bigger
it's
than it really is.
yeah.
Yeah.
And realistically, 90% of the people won't know that this has a 10-speed transmission. Like,
No,
and
not really.
that's the secret is you don't want a transmission that's hunting for gears and feels awkward, have rough shifts, stuff like that. That's the stuff that your average consumer will notice, and it's worth pointing out. But
You
not like the limit handling, like aggressive driving. If it has a weird shift here and there, I'm okay with that.
you know which shifter I actually really like? Ford's.
The rotary?
The dial.
Huh.
It's so on a Prindle, like a regular Prindle, what you
Yeah.
do is you pull the lever down, right? You
Hmm.
pull the tab. You feel two shifts and you can let go of it and it will be in neutral. Then you slap it into drive. So you
Hmm.
don't have to look down and you know it's in drive. With the rotary, you just rotate it all the way to the right,
Hmm.
it's in drive. Rotate it
Yeah.
all the way to the left, it's park. One over, it's reverse. The rotary makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's a better feel because the problem with the forward and back shifter is it's easy to go too far forward or too far back.
Yeah.
So on my Supra, I use the manual shifting, but sometimes I leave it in drive and then I want to downshift from the lever, and I end up putting in neutral
Because you're
because
pushing it forward.
I push it forward. But normally, if you just push it forward slightly, nothing happens. But if you push it forward a little bit too much, you end up in neutral, and then you're just I'm just free revving the engine.
It's like,
No,
huh,
yeah,
not
you
moving.
should be using the paddle. The paddles work great, but I oftentimes use the lever. Just I don't know.
Because you want to
Um,
feel like Dom Toretto.
yeah, yeah, do the
Yeah,
Fast and
yeah,
Furious
yeah.
because it's got eight speeds. I can, and it will do eighth gear in around 60, 70K, so you can get up there. Boom,
Oh,
boom, boom,
perfect.
boom. It's pretty good.
Just
Um, yeah,
I, I see you driving around town just bored. Na, 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 na.
yeah, it's pretty good. There's a few awkward shifts, honestly, like that ZF. Again, that ZF. Every journalist raves about it. I think it's kind of overrated. Just
I
my
have
2 cents.
I have no problems with the ZF. I think it's a good transmission.
It has an awkward. It has quite a few awkward downshifts for me, and I've had that transmission since day one in the 2013 328. Um, that's an awkward transmission, and I keep getting the same issue with it, which is when I come to a red light, and I had this issue 9 years ago with the 328. Is when I come to a red light, it's downshifting in a second, in the first, and just lurching me forward every downshift. And it doesn't have to downshift in the first; it
Mhm.
could just stay in second.
Yeah,
It lets you start in second. Um, and yeah, it's just uncomfortable when you're coming to a stop, and that's something I noticed even in a very pedestrian car. So that is my only real complaint about the ZF. Other transmissions, traditional automatic transmission, seem to do a better job of coming to a full stop.
actual stop. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's a few. I think the worst for me has always been like the dual clutch that Hyundai uses on their lower end vehicles.
Hmm.
Hyundai and Kia, the 1.6 turbos, their dual clutch has always been just quite a bit jerky. But it's only on some. Like we were just talking earlier, the Celtos was very jerky for me, but the
Hmm.
Kona was fine, and it's the same. It's the
Yeah,
same thing.
mechanically
So
it's probably the same. So
I don't know why the
could be
Celtos
luck
is
of the draw. I mean,
yeah.
what the Elantra N is getting that, or
I think the Elantra N is getting a different one because that's a 2 liter, so it's a beefed up dual clutch, and that's
uh,
the wet clutch as well.
oh,
Yeah,
that's why.
because the Celtos actually was able to get a transmission overheat warning in it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Actually, let's go back to the MDX. Why do you think? Why do you think the MDX, the RX outsells the MDX so significantly?
the RX over like outsells the MDX. It's the main thing of it is the name. You know, when like even I talked to my dad about this. My dad loves the Lexus RX, and I keep telling him it's a garbage vehicle for for the money that you're paying. Like I was actually looking at an RX myself. I wanted to use one. Perfect time to buy a Lexus, like in a used market because it's reliable. But people like are willing to pay for a brand new Lexus for that reliability factor. They
Hmm.
know it's going to last them, you know, 20 years. Where in fact, really, a lot of the people that are buying these cars are only having it for 5 years and they're selling it off.
Exactly. It doesn't. I feel like an MDX will last 5 years. That's the thing. I guess MDX had a
you,
rough
you
start.
feel like he'll last. It's saying like
MDX
it's such a bad thing.
they had a rough start with their automatics. I think Honda that
Honda Acura,
generation
yeah,
of automatics, and even 5 years ago, when the 9 speed came out, that
yep,
was rough.
yep.
Um, so I guess that will it's that to me is probably like the biggest pockmark on the MDX. That's why the resale value is never as strong, is that transmission history. But to me, if you're leasing these cars, and they've got better incentives,
Oh, they got
the
really good
MDX
incentives.
always have better incentive than an RX. So don't look at just like what's on the sticker price. Do look at your lease payments. I think
Yeah,
uh,
look at what your monthly is because
yeah,
it
good
varies.
consumer advice here. For once on kicking tires, I am partial to the MD. In this segment, I probably would go MDX because you just get a better package overall.
I think it's a really good car overall. Like it is just a little bit
Yeah,
bland because it doesn't have like the power that
yeah.
some of the more common vehicles that I had. Because I actually just stepped out of a GLS
Mm,
63 and I got into this. So like I went from 600 horsepower to 300.
yeah.
It's
Cost 3 times the price.
yeah. So like I was on a scale that I wasn't like you know maybe as truthful as I can be or as good as I can get with the MDX.
Hmm.
Like it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a car that when I got into it, I told my wife I was like, this can be our next kind of like family hauler because it's so
Yeah.
good as a family hauler. But then she really didn't like the infotainment. She
Oh,
found it a little bit too hard to use with the touchpad. But I told her I was like, it's one of those things that you'll get used to over time. And
you'll get used to it, and you'll CarPlay it.
exactly. And if you're using CarPlay, you're not using that as much. You're using Siri to dictate everything anyways.
Hmm. I
And
like that volume knob with the skip because
oh
that's
yeah,
literally all I do. All I interact with my infotainment is skipping songs and
oh yeah.
changing the volume. Like,
And you can just do that right on the steering wheel. You don't even need to do that on the side. Like the
because it's got
ability to,
that thing in the center, right? Like,
yeah. So they moved it for the MDX as well as the TLX on the center console to have
mhm,
it a little bit closer because the RDX is actually on the cluster, not the cluster, sorry, the infotainment just
on the
below the
center stack,
infotainment screen.
yeah,
Yeah.
higher up. Yeah, I don't know. I really like this car, and I think I like it when manufacturers like try a little bit. That's always been my issue with the RX. I always like the NX, and I'm a Toyota fanboy. Like I only drive Toyotas pretty much.
So let me t-
And
let me tell you what I don't like about the MDX.
mm,
It's This is the biggest thing. And we're gonna close off with this. The MDX is available in different packages. I mean, it's pretty common. The one that you want in terms of looks and just everything, it's like the A spec because it looks cooler. darked out trim. You get a different grill than like the regular models. It's
Mhm.
just blacked out, but you only get like all the options within the Platinum Elite. So like the cabin top, the surround view. Actually, I think surround view camera is only in the Platinum Elite. Yeah, you don't get the 360 camera. You don't get
Mm.
some other stuff with it. I think there's dynamic dampers. I can't remember, but like the A specs of one you want because it looks cooler, but you can't get all the toys in it because the Platinum Elite has it.
The A spec is the one that we want. It looks,
I
but I think again the Type S is going to change everything up a little bit as far as numbers and performance features and styling features. I think we'll see a different animal with that model. I get the Platinum Elite, like it looks expensive. Well, not in the color that they gave you. The
oh
silver
yeah, the
color is really
silver
bland,
silver's horrible. Yeah, yeah.
but in a darker color, it the Platinum Elite, I can see that being like, okay, that thing looks $70,000. Like,
So
yeah,
every single MDX I saw on the road has been an A spec.
the one I saw today was too. The blue one was really
Yeah,
nice.
the A
Yeah.
spec is the one that people are buying because it actually does look good.
hmm This looks good too.
It's
The A
if you
spec looks more RDX if you think about
yeah, blacked
it,
out
which is not a
trim,
bad thing. It's not a
tinted
bad.
tinted taillights. It definitely looks good. There's
Yeah,
yeah
it's the same with the RDX. I see a lot of the A spec with the red
yeah
leather seats and the
yeah,
black trim.
but
And
yeah, once again, A spec you just don't get the toys. It's Acra. Why?
they always like that. They always do that. Yeah. But
Anyways,
yeah, Type
that's
S.
about it. Um, Type S is probably the one you want if you want more power, but if not, get the A spec. If you want toys, Platinum Elite, but buy the MTX over the RX because the RX is it's not a car for you.
They just don't try. There's no
unless
effort.
unless you really want a hybrid because you're paying $80,000 to save a little bit of money.
Yeah, it's not even that efficient. It's not even that great of a hybrid. Like, it's a good hybrid system. Don't get me wrong, but you're not gonna save that much money.
No, not really. In any case, thank you so much for watching this video and this little podcast or listening or whatever you guys are from. And we'll catch you next time. Take care. The silence.
So,
I'm gonna
are you
edit.
still gonna?
Yeah.
I thought. Okay, I thought you were gonna cut it.